Hi, everybody, and welcome back. My name's Melissa, and this year I am sharing 365 tips for frugal living. So, before you all crucify me, this is going to come with some caveats. Today's tip is get another job. Uh, I, in my 20s, I always worked 2 or 3 jobs. I typically worked 60 to 80-hour weeks, sometimes 100-hour weeks. It was a very Gen X thing to do. A lot of us did it. I was actually just talking with my present employer about how she did that too, and about how it's just how we operated. I mean, most of us had our first job by the time we were 12, mowing lawns, paper boys, babysitting. By the time we were, by the time we were 14 or 15, we were actually uh, in jobs and employed where we actually got a paycheck and paid taxes. And so there was that. And then there was, by the time we graduated high school, if we were in college, we were working full time in the summer, part time during the school year. And if we weren't, in some, oh my gosh, I had some friends who were working 40 to 60 hours a week and going to college full time, paying rent, paying their thing. I mean, it was just what us girls did. And then we had, if you didn't, then you were straight to the workforce. You were 40 to 60 hours a week, multiple jobs. It's just what you did. So, that's what I did. That's just what I did. And the thing is that having a second job gives you an immense amount of freedom, because the thing is that if you have 2 jobs and one of your employer sucks, then you have that cushion. You can say, no, I'm going to go and take and get more hours at the other job. You can give better availability to the one that pays you more. You can make those choices, and that's really advantageous. And then if your one employer chooses to let you go, downsizes, decides to use AI, whatever, you still aren't destitute. You are still not completely without income. So I was a server during the pandemic, and I was obviously let go. We were all laid off. So I got unemployment, right? So people are thinking, oh, that's great, right? So much money with that $600 a week bonus, which really wasn't a ton in the end. But I was in Florida, where your max, I mean, it doesn't matter if you make $100,000 a year and you have 8 kids, you're not getting more than like 213 or something like that a week, period. And so I got the 200 and some dollars a week plus the $600 a week, which sounds great, but I had to verify on a system that was broken. There were multiple weeks where I didn't get paid because I didn't verify properly because their system was broken. And I didn't get my unemployment benefits until the last week of July. So I went from March until the last week of July without a paycheck. That was rough. And, meanwhile, I know other people who they drove for Uber and they just got their base pay plus bonuses and all of that. And they didn't take out like the money that they had to pay for gas and stuff and expenses. So these people are making like 70 plus $1,000 a year in unemployment. And that was great for them, because then they went back to school and they did great things. And I was like, wow, I made some bad choices. But if you do get laid off for something other than a pandemic, you have that backup, because a lot of states, I mean, if you get laid off in Florida, you're getting $200 a week and you're going to have to fight for it. You have to prove that you're really unemployed, prove that you are who you say you are, prove that you're not lying, bring in multiple forms of ID. I was laid off at one point, had to do all this proving, finally proved it. And I'd been verifying and doing it. Finally got a job, and they approved my unemployment at the same time. And then, because it was Florida and Florida likes to Florida, they didn't give me my back unemployment. They refused to because they said I didn't need it anymore because I'd found employment. So I was without a paycheck again for months. And if you don't know this about Florida, Florida is a very seasonal work environment. So if you get laid off in the summer, good luck finding a job before October. I was doing anything I could. I was selling stuff on Let Go and Offer Up. I was applying at 10, 20 places a week. Anything I could do, and just no one was hiring. So it took until October to get a job. But right now, there's still actually a decent number of jobs. I mean, they pay crap. I was just on Indeed, and the number of jobs that pay like $15 to $20 an hour, like autism, they wanted an autism specialist, and they were going to pay anywhere from $16 to $20 an hour for an autism specialist. I saw therapist roles and roles requiring your master's degrees, $20 an hour. And I'm sorry, but if you have your master's degree, they should be paying you more than $20 an hour. That's just, it is what it is. If you're going to require a master's degree, then you need to pay your people more than $20 an hour. And, there were a lot of crummy jobs out there. A lot that I wouldn't take. A lot that I wasn't even qualified for. I mean, I'm not a nurse. I'm not a mechanic. And then there was obviously a ton of jobs in the $150,000 to $250,000 range that I was completely qualified for because it required no education. But I'm also smart enough to know that they're lying. That's 100% based on commission, and that is based on if you manage to get the highest commission every time. So if you do 3 appointments today with 100% close ratio and you maximize each of those, then you're going to make $250,000 a year. But nobody does that. Nobody has 100% close rate. So I skipped those. I applied to a couple of bartending jobs, and I'm going to go hit the pavement tomorrow and apply in person, because that's kind of still a thing. In that's kind of the cool thing about bartending and serving is with a lot of the mom and pop shops, that's still kind of a thing, like the hitting the pavement and going in and asking if they're hiring. And you don't have to do it online, which is kind of cool, because everywhere now you apply online. You want to go to Target, or you go to a corporate restaurant like Chili's, you're applying online. So I am going to go and apply for some jobs there. And I'm going to keep applying until I find a second job that can fit in with my current first job, because I'm not quitting my first job. I love being a nanny. I love the kid I nanny for. It is absolutely amazing, and I'm not going to, I will figure out something that works around that, because I love the family I nanny for, and that's hard to find. So I will figure out something that works around that, and then I'll add more hours at a different position, because it's going to be a lot easier to make more money. So even if I only work like 2 days a week and make $100 each day, that's $200 more that I have each and every week to pay off debt. So if I'm making that's $10,000 at the end of a year. So it might not sound like a lot, but it adds up because, you know, and what could you do with an extra 10,000? What could you do with an extra 10,000 in savings? What bills could you pay off with an extra 10,000? Pay off your car, pay off your student loans, pay off your credit card debt. What could you do with that extra money? So it's worth it. Couple of caveats. If you already are working 60 to 80 hours a week, don't try and overload yourself. You don't want to end up in burnout like me. If you are disabled, you want to make sure to pay attention to how each position is going to affect your disabilities. I absolutely loved some parts of teaching. I loved the students. I loved making engaging lessons. Didn't like the lesson planning because there were so many stupid details you had to include, and it took so long. And I mean, some of it was even like formatting issues. And I certainly didn't like the politics involved. I didn't like what was worse than being told, no, we're not going to get this for your student with special needs, was being told yes and then not getting it for my student with special needs. I mean, at least the people who told me no right away, I figured something out. I didn't just get all excited and think that we were going to have something for them. Legally blind student, no glasses. Can we get him something so he can see better? And then they took it away. Sure, we'll get him a touch screen or a tablet, and then we're going to take it away. That's great. Thanks. Sure, we can get him a special reading thing. No, we can't. Thanks. I appreciate that. So there were a lot of stressors that came with teaching. And one, there's fluorescent lights, and not the thing for somebody who's photophobic and has any neurological challenges, migraines, or any neurological challenges, really. Those fluorescent lights are horrible. So there was that challenge. And then the parents, because never believed it was their kid, or if they did believe it, they never did anything about it. Like, I've had parents say things like, oh, well, we don't do timeouts because that's too hard on us. So you let your kid leave a baseball size lump on your other kid's forehead, and you didn't do timeout because it was too hard on you. Not great. So, I had parents who give their kid ibuprofen or Tylenol, send them to school sick, and then kid an hour later has 103-degree fever, and mom unreachable. Parents cuss you out. Teaching was awful. But if you are a teacher, if you are one of those brave few that has decided to stay in that profession, then I do not recommend getting a second job because, oh my God, teaching is a barely survivable profession. There's some professions, why does that word sound so funny to me, that it is hard to survive. And so if that's the case, then you can't get a second job. And there's some situations where you can't. Maybe you're a mom and you have responsibilities to your children, because that is a full-time job. You just don't get paid for it. And maybe you have other responsibilities. But as important as I think it is to volunteer in the community, if you are struggling to survive, then you might need to get a second job and be paid instead of volunteering. If you are trying to get ahead, you may need to get that second job. Like I said, I am gradually adding hours in because, let me tell you, burnout sucks. I do not recommend it. And do not push yourself to the point of burnout. So here's the thing I've noticed. Everybody talks about work-life balance, but for a lot of people, the balance is unevenly portioned towards life. And I mean, I'm not defending corporate America. Corporate America sucks. And employers who don't want to pay their employees suck. But also, if you are able to pay all of your bills and only work 40 hours a week and have no education and everything, then you should be happy that you're there. Like, if you don't have school loans and you don't have your education, then you can't expect to be like, oh, well, I have no training. And also, for the purpose of this argument, I'm including things like apprenticeships and like your electricians and your handymen and your mechanics and all of that. Um, but if you don't have any applicable skills, if you don't have any college education, then and you can still work at a job where you can afford and survive and pay your bills, then you may need to get a second job, because that's kind of how it is. I didn't go back to college until I graduated at 32. And I always had to have 3 jobs. It's just how it was. It was the road I chose. And though everybody does deserve a living wage, and I'm not saying you don't deserve a living wage, if you're not making it, you might have to make a different choice. You may have to. Don't sit there and listen to these tech bros and productivity bros and finance bros, because guess what? They're just regurgitating the same crap over and over and over again, and you're not going to get ahead. Um, you know, you need to be making more money before you're doing anything else. If you do have a skill, like maybe you're a teacher, you can tutor part-time, and maybe you're a mechanic, get some side work. Maybe you are in construction, start a handyman business. Oh my God. Or whatever construction business you're in, because there is a definite need for those people who can fix houses. And it's going to get hard. It's going to get a lot harder before it gets easier. And while we definitely want to be frugal and save money and be self-sufficient and develop a community and be, have our gardens and have our everything, we also need to still have income. I would love to not have to participate in the capitalist system, but I still have bills to pay. I still have, you know, I can't tell my gas company, I'm sorry, I'm opting out of capitalism this year. So how about I trade you this? Because they have opted into capitalism, so I can't just trade with them. So yeah, it's not fun advice. It's not glamorous. It absolutely sucks sometimes. But if you are working less than 40 hours and aren't disabled, then it's time to get a second job. If you, I mean, if you are working 40 hours, you may still need to get a second job. And I don't recommend necessarily a lot of the gig work, like Shift and stuff, because that's bringing you into the negatives most times now. But yeah, so today's advice, not glamorous, not fun, but if you want to get ahead financially, my recommendation is to get a second part-time job so that you can more quickly get out of debt, save money, get all that done. And like I said, if you are disabled, especially be careful with this advice. Even if you're not disabled, burnout can happen. So be careful. And if you're already working excessive hours, then don't overdo it to the point where you make yourself sick. Find that balance. But however much time you spend, what I've decided to do is I am no longer going to go on Facebook. I'm trying to avoid a lot of things. So like today I spent 2 hours searching for jobs on Indeed. Tomorrow I'll go and spend 2 hours looking for jobs in person, maybe more. It'll really depend on how it all goes. Like if I go through every place and nobody's hiring, it'll take maybe 2 hours. If I fill out some applications or get some interviews, it could take 4. But I recommend, seeing if you can get another job. Or, maybe you're a couple and one of you works and one of you stays home with the kids. What a lot of people used to do in the 80s and 90s that I saw is they would reverse their schedules. So if, if your spouse works days and they work a 9 to 5 job and you have the kids all day, then you could maybe work part-time in the evenings, waitressing, bartending, retail, Target, something where you can go do that from 6 or 7 until 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever. I mean, it depends on how much sleep you need and all that. But you have options. You just kind of have to figure out how it works, and it sucks. um and maybe you're in the thick of it. Maybe you're the single mom with a 9-year-old kid and you can't do more than work one job. I've been there, and that's okay too. But if you can, I highly recommend getting another job and increasing your income. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to me ramble. My name's Melissa, and I am sharing 365 tips for frugal living. Most of them will probably be more how to save money. Some of them might be how to earn money, because earning money is part of it. And if you'd like hearing tips for frugal living, then please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And I will see y'all tomorrow.